The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker is the most heavily slept on Zelda game in the entire franchise. From the music to the art style to the characters, this game just oozes charm, and it's a shame that Zelda fans and Nintendo don't show it some more love. But why doesn't this game get the flowers it truly deserves as a cult classic title? Well, I'll tell you that plus more right after this intro. Rolling! Hey, what's up guys, WaavvyyD, whatever you want to call me, and today we are going to be talking about The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker and why I believe it truly deserves some more appreciation. Not just from Zelda fans, but Nintendo themselves as well. This game doesn't get talked about nearly as much as some of the other games that share the same Zelda title as it. Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and last but not least, of course, Breath of the Wild. Now, I get it. This game might not share the same critical acclaim as some of the other titles I listed. Wait, hold on, wait, actually?
A few moments later.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, boy.
This game might not share the same critical acclaim as some of the other titles I listed.
Holy.
But that's beside the point. Okay, this game still receives a fair amount of hate, and that hate has dated all the way back in time since the early 2000s. Back during a time where I was only a few years old, Windows 2000 was the world's latest addiction, and along with some game called The Sims and some white boy named Slim Shady that some girls were gawking over, I guess, I don't know. Anywho, this was around E3 time, and Nintendo had just came off the release of their latest Zelda game, Majora's Mask. This was also around a time where Nintendo was getting ready to host their annual games trade show, Space World 2000. Now this was also around the time of Space World 2000 where Nintendo had cooked up a special demo for the press. Now this demo highlighted the performance of their newest games console, the Nintendo GameCube, releasing the next year. It showed off a variety of different video game characters and the games they were supposedly going to appear in, such as Luigi in Luigi's Mansion, the Pokemon gang in, I assume, Pokemon Channel? Samus in Metroid Prime, of course. And last but not least, Zelda.
What you say?
Link and Ganondorf. In what game, you may ask? Well, we didn't know at the time. However, it didn't take long for the internet to speculate what game this could be. And man, was the internet in for a treat in 2000 when Nintendo officially came out and told everyone that this was just a tech demo, more specifically for Link and Ganon. They were not attached to any Zelda game coming up at the time, and they shouldn't expect anything coming anytime soon. Great. And it didn't stop there. The internet would be in for even more of a treat when Nintendo came out to Space World 2001 and show off their actual Zelda demo. And boy, did the internet take it well. I thought in 2023, our internet was full of some sensitive ass crybabies, but it was just about the same in 2001 when Nintendo showed off their official Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker demo to the press and to the audience in 2001. This game, and I kid you not, this game received so much hate that there was actually an official, and I kid you not, official Zelda bitch thread on IGN.com way back in the day. Because a few thousand hate posts every day about the new Zelda Wind Waker art style, it just wasn't enough. We had to form all of that hate, all of that negativity into one thread. Of course, why didn't I think of that? Well, apparently someone did before me. Well, of course they did before me. It's 2001, I was like 1 year old. But that brings me into one of the first reasons why so many people hate the Wind Waker. The looks of it, its art style. Wind Waker uses a cel-shaded, cartoony art style instead of the more grounded and realistic art style of games like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask before it. Especially with Majora's Mask's dark and gritty art style, people were extremely disappointed to see them go from that to Wind Waker. Even Shigeru Miyamoto, the original creator of the original Legend of Zelda game on NES, was disgusted by this footage and by the way the game looked. And he had a lot of problems with Wind Waker when he first saw it and played through it. Not only that, but he insisted Eiji Aonuma? I think so. Eiji Aonuma, though, project manager of the Zelda franchise at the time, he insisted him and the team to change the art style, to change how this game looked before it was too late. Well, good thing him and the team kept it pushing and stuck with their guns, because this is exactly the way, the look, the feel, exactly what they were aiming for with this Zelda game. The creative team were inspired by some of the old school classic Japanese animation that they grew up watching, including one animated show called Animal Treasure Island. Came out in Damn, this shit came out in 1971? Jeez. Aonuma said that The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker felt more like a high seas adventure where it's just a coincidence that you play as Link. And personally, I dig the hell out of that idea, man. High seas adventure? Pirate game? Let's fucking go.
Yuck! Keep that mushy stuff out of my high seas adventure, will ya?
But it's not like some of the previous Nintendo IPs like Super Mario and Donkey Kong haven't experimented with their art style or just style in gameplay in general in the past, because they have. They've done a lot of experimenting, actually. Let me put on the screen a list of some of the different, and when I say different, I mean different Mario and Donkey Kong games that have came out in the last few years. The art style of Wind Waker has aged like fine wine in 2023. And eventually, later down the line, it started getting praised by many because of its unique use of cel shading, shadows, and textures on limited hardware like the Nintendo GameCube. And with the HD remaster of the game on the Nintendo Wii U, it just improved the looks of the game even more. Not only that, but they readjusted several other features that players disliked from the original game as well. But speaking of HD, man, let's get into Wind Waker HD. Now, for starters, another issue that a lot of people had with Wind Waker when it originally released was its relatively easy difficulty, compared to the Zelda games that came before it at least. However, while reviewing the game, Miyamoto himself actually told the team to dub down the difficulty a little bit because of how hard it was. And his reasoning behind this was because of the fact that a lot of the bosses in Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time were so difficult that a lot of people dropped off of those games and were never able to fully experience those titles. So they dumbed down the difficulty a little bit. But where does Wind Waker HD come into play with all of this? Well, if you beat the game, they added Hero Mode. What's Hero Mode? It's basically a new game plus. They make the game harder for you. Problem solved. If you consider a problem to be solved, what, 10 plus years later? Hey, it's Nintendo, man. People also hated the very slow sale times and the seemingly vast and endless ocean that you had to navigate across. Now, this was due to the limitations, again, of the Nintendo GameCube. They couldn't make you go too fast, because if you went too fast, the islands wouldn't load properly and there would be game crashes during testing and stuff like that. But if you went too slow and the world was too small, then it really wouldn't be much of a sense of exploration and adventure, and they just wouldn't make the game they wanted to make. So how did they fix this? Well, in the files of the original game, there had seemed to be 2 additional sails that the player can interact with, except they couldn't interact with them because they were just in the files of the game. One of those sails seemed to be titled the Zora sail, and this sail was supposed to make you actually sail a lot faster in the original game. Obviously, it wasn't in the original game. So they added a more speedy sail to the HD edition that you can get. And let's not forget the infamous Triforce Fetch quests. Oh man, I love this game, but that shit pissed me off. Well, thankfully in the HD remaster, they made that quest a lot easier by reducing the amount of Triforce pieces you need to collect from 8 to 3. And with the speedy sale, you can get those Triforce pieces a lot quicker. But now that I'm looking at some of these complaints, a lot of these complaints that the internet has are the exact same as Miyamoto's complaints. Huh. You know what I see? All I see is a bunch of Nintendo dick. But let's get into another reason why this game doesn't get as much love as its fellow brethren. And that's the fact that the other Zelda games just stand out a lot more than Wind Waker. I gotta be honest, man, it's the truth. Ocarina of Time is not only legendary for its nearly damn perfect Metacritic score, but it also has an amazing story, thrilling dungeons, a historic original soundtrack, multiple new items introduced, and a unique gameplay mechanic that has you switching from young Link to adult Link, back to young Link. Majora's Mask follows suit with not only the same things that I listed about Ocarina of Time, but also a completely new gameplay mechanic that has you racing against time before the moon crashes in and destroys all humanity. You can also switch forms. It also has a much darker tone and eerie vibe, and this is something that a lot of people really appreciated about Majora's Mask, and it's something different from the toy-like kitty reputation Nintendo has. And then there's Skyward Sword. Alright, so maybe there is a Zelda game that gets talked about less than Wind Waker. But I have heard more hate on Wind Waker than Skyward Sword, though. But even Skyward Sword got a port to the Nintendo Switch before Wind Waker could even see the light of day on the HD console. Yes, I already see y'all typing in the comments, Wind Waker HD is on a Wii U HD. But we don't talk about the Wii U on this channel, man. We don't talk about the Wii U on this channel. Even though I mentioned it a few times already in this video. But before you go and cry in the comments, but WaavvyyD, it didn't get a port to the Wii U neither. It's probably because they saw how low Wind Waker HD sold on their shitty ass console, so they didn't think it was worth dropping there. In that case, why has Nintendo waited this fucking long to drop a game like Wind Waker HD on their highest selling console of all time? Today, as I'm recording this video, not only has the Nintendo Switch moved into the third spot for most consoles sold of all time, they also just dropped the Nintendo Direct today. And you know what wasn't there? That's right, Wind Waker HD is not on the Switch still. Then we get into Twilight Princess. The thing is, Twilight Princess is a game that Nintendo fans were begging for. It's a dark, edgy, more serious toned Legend of Zelda game, kind of following suit with Majora's Mask's tone, except this one was rated T for teen. It's no wonder it sold so well to a console that's primarily targeted towards kids that 30-year-olds are still going to end up buying that grew up with the original Zelda game from the NES. Makes sense why it sold so well, right? Then there's Breath of the Wild. Wait, Breath of the Wild? Hold on. Yo, do I actually have to talk about Breath of the Wild in this video? Yes, and I'll get it over with already. Alright, nah, I'm not talking about Breath of the Wild. Just look at this graph, man. But speaking of sales, this just brings up another reason why Nintendo doesn't show this game enough love. Other than the fact that there's still no port to the fucking Nintendo. Wind Waker had a planned sequel. Yes, a planned sequel. But Nintendo scrapped it due to the low sales that Wind Waker received on the GameCube. It even did better than Majora's Mask. It did better than a game that's received in much more of a positive light and is a direct sequel to one of, debatably, the greatest game of all time. We're going off Metacritic. We're going off Metacritic. So it's not a surprise that once they dropped Twilight Princess after the Wind Waker, it nearly doubled in sales. Even Ubisoft tried their hands at a direct sequel for the game on the Game Boy Advance. It got scrapped a month later. We eventually got spin-offs in the form of Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, but nothing would have hit like a brand new, fully fleshed out sequel to The Wind Waker. Regardless of all the backlash and hate this game has received over the years, this game is not only my favorite Zelda game of all time, it is also one of my favorite games of all time, period, man. I mean, if it wasn't obvious enough, then yeah. From its unique charm, look, feel, and gameplay, to its catchy, iconic, and classic OST, original soundtrack from Nintendo, still one of my favorite soundtracks from Nintendo, along with Super Mario Galaxy 2. This game is incredible, man. I absolutely love it. The dungeons are not only challenging and visually appealing, but the same can be said about the boss fights as well. The game also added some fun and new abilities and items to use, like the Skull Hammer, the grappling hook, and of course, the Wind Waker. And last but not least, the characters. Even though there's no voice acting in the game, you're still able to understand them pretty well, based on the emotion, the animated expressions, and body movement that each character conveys to Link and the player. From Tetra, to Medley, to Ariel? I can still never get that after like 20 years. To the King of Red Lions, to even Tingle. This game screams Netflix show adaptation in 2023. I mean, just look at shows like Sonic Prime, the Cuphead show, Cyberpunk 2077 Edge Runners, man. This game would make a killing in animation. But I digress. That's for another video. But my point is, there's so much to love about this game, and I hope after giving this video a chance, you decided to give my man's Toon Link and the King of Red Lions a chance in the Wind Waker. Hopefully they drop it for the Switch soon. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, fams, and relatives, as it really does help the channel grow. Now, I know this video was a bit different in style compared to the other videos I usually make, but I am going for a new approach and a new direction with WaavvyyD, and I'm going to start making a lot more game analysis videos in this style, in the multiverses versus Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl video style. We're going in a new direction this year, man. Hopefully you enjoy it just as much as I will. But in the meantime, it's been WaavvyyD, and I'm gonna catch you. Peace.